The Poltergeist of Enfield. Does this image show the spirit in action? The strange case of the Poltergeist of Enfield is one of the eeriest cases of alleged paranormal activity. Beginning in 1977, the Hodgson family lived through a series of events in their home in Enfield, England, which led them back to the influence of a poltergeist. The events, which were partly documented by photography and tape, included knocking noises, moving pieces of furniture, self-igniting fires, and last but not least, floating children. The family was the separated Peggy Hodgson and her 4 children, Margaret, Janet, Johnny, and Billy, aged between 7 and 12 years old. The events began one evening, according to the family, when Margaret and Janet went to bed and suddenly cabinets moved towards them without anyone knowing who or what was moving the cabinet. The mother tried to calm the children down and send them back to bed when, according to her, 2 drawers sprang up without external influence. According to the family, knocking signs and strange noises followed at night, which seemed to take their origins from the walls. The next day, the family sought advice from their neighbor, Vic Nottingham, frightened and exhausted. The neighbor agreed to look for the Hodgson's house and listen to knocking noises while walking through the house. Again and again, the family heard knocking noises. Lego stones and marbles developed a life of their own, as if thrown by invisible hands. Both children and mother described this, but apart from all these eerie and inexplicable phenomena, the alleged poltergeist also had a direct effect on members of the family, above all Janet. The family stated that Janet floated out of her bed several times and glided horizontally through the room as toys circled around her. The family sought advice from clergymen and experts on paranormal phenomena, but they too could not change the fact that the unusual events continued. On one of the nights, Peggy Hodgson called the police to help him as he repeatedly found objects moving. One of the police women was later to make an oath that she had seen a chair floating through the air for several meters. The media also became aware of the events. A reporter from the Daily Mirror newspaper tried to document the events on site. The photojournalist Graham Morris took pictures in the house, and he managed to take one of the photos that will forever be connected to the fall of the poltergeist, a picture of Janet, lifted out of bed, who seemed to float through the bedroom with a ghostly hand. An unexpected twist, though. An unexpected turn of events finally took place when Janet began to act as a medium. She repeatedly began to speak in a deep voice, saying that she spoke as Bill and was a former resident of the house who had died there. These events are documented by audio recordings. Enfield Poltergeist Bill and Friends voice audio recordings, very disturbing. The Hodgson family lived in fear and terror for 2 years. Then, according to their reports, the events ended as suddenly as they had begun. It's still controversial whether the events of Janet and other parts of the family had been faked. Janet herself admitted in an interview that she had made up a few things, but only out of the motivation that someone should finally believe her. Now, I also want to give in my comment here from my personal experience from someone who was very close to me. Actually, she was my goddaughter, and she lives in England. They had bought a house, a very old house on the top of a hill in a very quaint little old town in England, and they bought it at a very good price, and obviously the price was very low because of the fact that the house was haunted. There was demonic spirits and activity going on in the house, and the only way that they could clear up this paranormal demonic activity taking place was by the Greek Orthodox priest the Christian Orthodox priest coming and doing the prayer of the holy water in the house. And for about a month, everything would be okay. Then things would start acting up again. For example, this was a 2-story old house. They would live on the first floor. They were renovating the whole house. The second floor was gutted. It had nothing. And they were also, of course, the second floor would have been their bedrooms and bathrooms. And they kept on hearing noises and people upstairs where there was nobody upstairs. They even heard running water as if a bathtub was filling with water, whereas there was no bathtub and there was no water. So you can see they had terrible it was very terrible. It was very distraught, obviously, because when you know that you're living through this and experiencing all this, even the workmen that were there, they would come every morning to find their tools from the tool shed dispersed everywhere. They had to go and hunt for their tools before they could start working on the renovations of the house. And every month the Greek Orthodox Christian priest would go for their, that's usually what happens. At the beginning of the month you go to church and get some holy water you can spray in your house. The best thing to do is when you're in a new house, have the Christian Orthodox priest do a special prayer of cleansing for the house. I asked my spiritual father, my spiritual confessor about all this, and asked him, why was this all taking place in my goddaughter's house? He says, obviously, someone used to live there who was a magician or a witch and was doing black magic or all types, any kind of magic, and bringing in demonic spirits who are still in the house. Another case of someone else I knew who gave me a comment on one of my videos. He lived in, I can't remember the place. I don't know if it was in Oklahoma or some other state. Anyway, he was renting a beautiful home with his family, and at night he would be pulled out of his bed, and he was lying in bed with his wife, and his wife didn't notice anything, but he was the only one being pulled out of bed, and he would wake up in the morning in the living room or some other room in the house, and this was going on every single night. And he sent me a comment, and I told him who to get in touch with in New York City. Call someone there, Father Joachim Parr in New York City. And he did. He called someone else there that I think was one of his helpers. And he was speaking to them for about half an hour about his predicament. And he sent me another comment saying that he had found out that the house was built over an old Indian some burial ground. And I told my priest here that I help in the little church that we have here in the northern areas of Greece, of Athens, Greece. I asked my priest, I said, what should this man do? He's living in a house that he's renting. He's renting with the option to buy. And there's all types of this demonic spiritual activity in the house attacking him. And the priest here said, tell him to move out. It's just too complicated. Tell him just to find another house. So yes, these we do have in the Christian Orthodox tradition prayers that cleanse the house. You have to cleanse the house before you move in, whether you're renting or whether you're buying, and even your place of work. If you're a businessman and you own or you're renting a premise, it's good to also every year, the beginning of the year, have the priest and do a special, very nice prayer concerning the holy water and sprinkling and praying all of the premises to cleanse it out. And this does work. When this had happened to my house here that I'm renting in Athens, I had opened the Holy Bible and said, my Lord, does this actually work? And the passage says, I have now cleansed your house through the prayers of the priest. So that was a good passage to open up to, by chance that we were told to do at least 3 times a day, because we get God's word for our answer. So in any case, I'll leave a link below for you for this poltergeist of Enfield was just one of these cases, and it's on Disclosed TV.